I'm saying to all of you, Assalamu alaikum. We'll continue our lessons on talking to Form 1 students. This is a manner for in the school. My name is Abdullah Ahmed, as you already knew. The city of Sparta. So our topics were about what we call the Asian Creeds. You remember I sent you the city of Athens and the city of Sparta through the first part of our online lessons. So now you know Sparta and Athens were the most powerful two city-states in Asian Crete. So now Sparta was one of the most powerful city-states in Asian Crete. So it was famous for two things. The first thing it was famous was it has a very powerful army. And at the same time, it fought battles with the city-states of Athens during what was called Peloponnesian War. So the two things that Sparta was well known with was their powerful army, and at the same time, the war it had with the other city-state of Athens that was called Peloponnesian War. So Sparta was located on Eurotas River. I would like the students to concentrate on the slides and to look where the mouse is, the cursor is. In southern, eastern portion of Greece. So it controlled two major lands. They were called Laconia or Laconia and Messenia. Sparta, the society of Sparta was divided into social classes. This means the people were not equal in terms of rank. They had different ranks. So now the people were having classes: upper class, lower class, middle class. So the first one, or the top, was called Spartan. So as you can see from here, the Spartan was the upper one, the top one, the most respected people. And these were called the Spartan citizens. There was relatively few Spartan citizens. Spartan citizens were those people who could trace their ancestry to the original people who formed the city of Sparta. So the Spartans were the people who founded this city. And those people who could state that their great-great-grandfathers were born in Sparta. If a person could identify his great-great-great-grandfather, that's what we call ancestor, to the people who founded Sparta, then he was called Spartan. But there were some people who were exception, who were not, like that. And who were these? The adopted sons. If someone, adopts a son, which adoption you are familiar with it? Is, for example, a boy or a girl who is not your son or a daughter, but you decided to make your own son or a daughter. So, for example, the orphanage children. Adopted sons, if an adopted son is performed well in the battle, they were given that citizenship. So, there were two ways a person could become a Spartan. Number one, if you could trace your great-grandfathers to be from Sparta. The second one, if you were an adopted son but very brave and you prove it in the battlefield is your bravery, then you become Sparta. The second social class of Sparta were called Periokai. So the Periokai were free people who lived in Spartan lands, but were not Spartan citizens. So these people were people who were free, but they were not originally from Sparta. They were not slaves, they were free, but they were somewhere else and were not true Spartans. So they could travel to other cities, could own land, and were allowed to trade. They could do those three things. What is the first one? Travel. What is the second one? Own land. The third one? Trade. Many of the Periokai were Lazonians who were defeated by the Spartans. You remember two lands Sparta controlled were Laconia and the other one was also Messenia. Okay, Messenia. Helot. This is the third one, and these were the largest one of the population. Look here, they are the lowest class, and they are the largest in terms of population. So those one were mostly slaves. So you can see here, look at my pointer, is there, or service to the Spartans. They farmed their own land, so most of them were farmers, but had to give half of their crops to the Spartans as payment. So whenever they finish producing the crops, 50% of whatever they produce or farm should be given to the Spartans as a tax. So Helots were beaten once a year. This is something which is little bit, awkward, weird. Helots were disciplined once a year, even if they did not do anything, so that they should be shown where they belong, which was to be slaves. Were beaten once a year and were forced to wear clothing made from animal skins. So Helots caught trying to escape were generally killed. So in short, there are three different classes in the city of Sparta. The first one was the Spartans, those who could trace their ancestry to Sparta, those sons who were adopted and became very free. The second one was Prokai. This one was free people from other places. Laconia was a good example, the people of Laconia. These people had freedom. Helots were the largest, and most of them were slaves or workers for the Spartans. They did the farming, and whatever they produce, half of it they should give it to Sparta. And in order to discipline them, once a year they were beaten, sometimes also forced to wear clothing from animal skin. Anybody tried to escape, he was executed. And now let us go directly to the third part of our lesson. Sparta were a warrior society. This is what they were good at. Athens and Sparta was more warrior. So the Spartans, they did not study philosophy, art, or theater. They studied war, how to fight. From young age, they were taught how to fight. So the Spartans were widely considered to have the strongest army and the best soldiers of any city-state in ancient Greece. All Spartan men trained to become warriors from the day they were born. Can you imagine that? From the day they are born. So one thing Sparta learned from the day they were born was fight, war. The Spartan army. So the Spartan army fought in a way was called phalanx formation. As you can see there, the way they fought was called phalanx. What was it? The explanation is here. Read with me, my students. They would line up side by side and several men deep. So they made a line. I think you have watched the movies or documentary this formation. They would line up side by side and several men deep. Then they would lock their shields together and advance on the enemy, stabbing them with their spears. So now this is what they do. They line up side by side, and several men, they go deep inside, and then they would lock their shields together, so nobody could come together. And do you know they have a long spears? So they would kill and stab their enemies from a far place. So the Spartans spent their life drilling and practicing their formations. So the phalanx formation was not something they could easily. They have to practice many years, and that appeared in the battle. And that formation was very hard to be broken. And this is how they defeated large armies. So what were the different equipments they used? They used those different equipments like the shield, which they call it aspis in their way, in their language. A spear, call it dori, and a small short sword, call it zibos. So these are the three different weapons, and even they have the shield also. Sorry, the shield was also already there. Aspis, dori, or zibos in their language, or in English you can say spear, shield, and short sword. They also wore a crimson tunic, so their bloody wounds wouldn't show. The most important piece of equipment to a Spartan was their shield. The most important, tool for fight for the Spartans was the shield. Look here, the shield. So that the biggest problem for a soldier was to lose his shield in battle. For example, Spartans, when they are fighting, if a soldier loses his shield, that it was possible for him even to commit suicide if he was not killed in that battle, because that was the biggest disgrace for the Spartan soldiers. The biggest thing that could lose dignity. The worst thing that a soldier could do was to lose his shield. Okay, now let us go. How was it like to grow up as a boy in Sparta? Hell. I'm saying it for the boys. It was really like hell. Because from a young age, you will be undergoing a very severe training. So Spartan boys were trained to be soldiers from their youth. They were raised by their mothers until the age of 7. And then they would enter a military school called Agog. So your mother was also like a soldier. She's gonna be a very hard mother. She will take care of you, but in a slight undisciplined way you do, then you are really punished, even by your mother. So when the boy reached 7, they would go to a military school at the Agog, called Agog. Imagine at the age of 7, at the Agog the boys were trained how to fight, but also learned how to read and write. Reading and writing, they were taught for the sake of knowledge, but most important was fight. So Agog was absolutely a very tough school. Partying, it was a partying school. Okay? Now guys, those of you who are partying at a manner you enjoy 3 times a meal, no punishment, football, no way, man. You will be really beaten very badly. Okay? Imagine from early morning up to early, for example, 5 hours. You could be taking exercise, a very mean soldier beating you badly. So the boys lived in practice and were often beaten to make them tough. They were given little to eat. Imagine that. They were not given a lot of food. Why? In order to get used to what life would be like when they went to war. Because in the war there will be days you won't get a food. So in order to adapt to that, no food was given. The boys were encouraged to fight one another. Even the boys themselves, they should be fighting one another. And the one who is beaten or defeated, he will be ready next day to defeat. When the boys turned 20, they entered into a Spartan Army. Imagine 13 years of rigorous training from 7 to 20. What was it like now to grow up as a girl in Sparta? The girls, you know, their school was not as tough as the boys, but they trained in athletics and exercise. Why? Because they will be the mothers to those sons. So themselves, they were made sure that they had manners and at the same time they are restricted in their rules. So it was important that the women stay fit so that they would have strong sons who could figure for Sparta. Sparta, they believed a strong mother give birth to strong sons. Disciplined mother will give birth to disciplined sons. So that's why they take care of that. That's why they also have separate training and schools for the girls. The women of Sparta had more freedom and education than most Greek cities at that time. And they married at the age of 18. The girls, they married at the age of 18. What about the history of Sparta? The city of Sparta rose to power around 650 BC, from 490 BC to 449 BC. The Spartans led the Greek city-states in war against the Persians. You remember, Sparta, they fought against Persians in a war called Thermopylae. 300 men stood against 100,000 Persians. And finally, the 300 were killed, and you may have watched a movie called 300 or documentaries from it. That is true, yeah. So, it was during the Persians' wars that the Spartans fought, even fought the famous battle of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans held of hundreds of thousands of Persians. After the Persian War, Sparta went to war against Athens in the Peloponnesian War. So, the Peloponnesian War, in short, was a war fought between Sparta and Athens. It started from 431 BC to 404 BC, and finally Sparta wins that war. Okay? Sparta will decline in the coming years and lost the battle of Leucatra to Thebes in 371 BC. However, it remained an independent city-state until Greece was conquered by the Roman Empire in 146 BC. So Roman Empire would finally conquer Sparta. And here is your It's your party. You should be able to read it from there. This is your party. I'm going to be silent about it. Read it nicely. Interesting facts about Sparta. Read it. Enjoy it. So I'm going to ask you oral questions from here, and I hope you will be able to answer them while watching the video. Okay? Why were boys encouraged to steal food? Okay, I can hear your answer is. Just kidding. Yeah, it was for the purpose of to make them, invisible. They were not punished because of stealing, but if they are captured. Okay? Until the age of 60, they should be fit. The term Spartan means symbol, with or without comfort, no relaxation. So where are they from? They regard themselves to be from the Greek hero Hercules. Sparta was ruled not by one king but by two kings who had equal power. Can you imagine that? They did not have one king, two kings who balanced one another. And the laws were made by a council of 30 elders. That's all for the lesson today. I hope you enjoyed my students. And now this is your questions. You'll be doing those questions and you can make a comment below while you are watching. You can write in your books later at the same time. Assalamu alaikum.